Ralph Cheli, sometimes known as Kelly, served as a major in the United States Army Air Forces during World War II. He was particularly renowned for his leadership and bravery, eventually obtaining the Medal of Honor for his heroic acts. Cheli was the commanding officer of the 405th Bombardment Squadron, medium, which was part of the 5th Air Force's 38th Bombardment Group based at Durand Airfield in Port Moresby, New Guinea. On August 18, 1943, Cheli led a hazardous operation with his B-25 Mitchell bomber squadron to strike 2 Japanese airfields from low altitude. Despite severe enemy fire, Cheli continued on, displaying extraordinary courage and persistence. Despite receiving significant damage to his aircraft during the operation, he continued to command his squadron with unshakable determination. As the situation worsened, Cheli made the agonizing decision to crash his crippled aircraft into the water. Even in the face of hardship, he stayed committed to his crew's safety and the mission's success. However, following the crash, Cheli and his crew were caught by enemy forces and held as prisoners of war. Tragically, Cheli was executed by his captors on March 6, 1944, paying the ultimate price for his loyalty and dedication to duty. Despite the uncertainties surrounding his fate as a prisoner of war, Cheli's courage and selflessness were not overlooked. He was posthumously nominated for the Medal of Honor in appreciation of his remarkable bravery and sacrifice. Cheli received the Medal of Honor in October 1943, recognizing his bravery and leadership in the face of adversity. His legacy continues to inspire future generations, acting as a reminder of the tremendous sacrifices made by individuals who serve their country with honor and distinction. Biography. On March 27, 1893, Robert Alfred Cheli and Julia Cheli, née Martinelli, gave birth to Ralph Cheli in San Francisco. His mother, Julia, lived a long life and died in Playa de Luco on February 9, 1993. Ralph attended Lehigh University as a member of the 1941 class. During his junior year, in February 1940, he decided to leave Lehigh and join the United States Army Air Force's USAF as an aviation cadet. Cheli began his military training with primary flying instruction in Tulsa, Oklahoma, followed by basic flight training at Randolph Field, Texas, and multi-engine advanced training at Kelly Field. After finishing his training, he obtained his commission as a second lieutenant in November. He was assigned as a B-17 Flying Fortress co-pilot in the 21st Reconnaissance Squadron. This squadron was assigned to the General Headquarters Air Force's 3rd Bombardment Wing and operated out of Miami, Florida. Cheli then attended the Chemical Warfare School at Edgewood Arsenal, Maryland, before rejoining the 21st Reconnaissance Squadron at MacDill Field, Florida. At the time, the squadron was assigned to the 29th Bomb Group. When the United States entered World War II, Cheli's career advanced and he was promoted to first lieutenant in February 1942. During the early phases of the war, Cheli performed anti-submarine patrols in the Caribbean Sea as a B-17 pilot with the 43rd Bomb Squadron of the 29th Bomb Group. His experiences during this period shaped his courage and leadership on key missions in the Pacific Theater. This extensive history sheds light on Cheli's journey from his education to his military training and early assignments, laying the groundwork for his following heroic efforts and ultimate sacrifice in service to his country during World War II. Ralph Cheli distinguished himself in the United States Army Air Forces during World War II, building on his early service and advancements. In June 1942, he was promoted to captain and sent to the 38th Bomb Group based at Barksdale Field in Louisiana. He took on the post of operations officer for the 405th Bomb Squadron, also known as the Green Dragons. In August of the year, Cheli performed a critical role in a historic aviation milestone. He led a flight of B-25 bombers from Hamilton Field, California, to Australia, the first time B-25s flew into the Southwest Pacific battle zone. This operation highlighted the B-25 aircraft's capacity and mobility, paving the door for future strategic deployments to the Pacific Theater. 2 months later, in October 1942, the 38th Bomb Group moved to Port Moresby, a critical base in New Guinea. On January 5, 1943, the former commander of the 405th Bomb Squadron died, and Cheli was appointed as commander. His leadership abilities and fighting experience made him an obvious candidate for this critical job. Cheli was promoted to major in March 1943 in recognition of his outstanding service and leadership. Cheli displayed extraordinary heroism and tactical insight during the fierce Battle of the Bismarck Sea on March 3, 1943. He led the 405th Bomb Squadron, which launched the first daylight, masthead, low-level strike on a Japanese merchant convoy. This mission, which included skip bombing missions, demonstrated Cheli's inventive approach to combat operations as well as his readiness to adapt to new tactics in order to succeed. Throughout his career, Cheli flew 39 combat missions, each of which was laden with risk and uncertainty. His bravery and skill in aerial battle earned him a number of valuable awards, including the Distinguished Flying Cross and the Air Medal. Throughout his career, Cheli flew 39 combat missions, each of which was laden with risk and uncertainty. His bravery and skill in aerial battle earned him a number of valuable awards, including the Distinguished Flying Cross and the Air Medal. These honors reflect Cheli's bravery and devotion to service during one of modern history's most difficult moments. Medal of Honor Mission. In August 1943, the 5th Air Force played an important role in assisting the Allies' strategic objectives, particularly their advance toward the Philippines along New Guinea's northern coast. The seizing of the Japanese base at La was the next significant step in this plan, which was intended for early September. However, before this could be accomplished, it was necessary to neutralize the substantial Japanese air power stationed at Wewak, almost 300 miles west of La. Wewak was a key bastion for Japanese forces, with significant air facilities including satellite fields at But, Borum, and Dagwa. These sites held about 100 bombers and over 90 fighters, posing a significant danger to Allied operations in the region. The concentration of German aircraft at Wewak posed a substantial threat to the Allies' strategic objectives, which needed to be addressed before further gains could be made. The 5th Air Force, commanded by General Douglas MacArthur, was entrusted with neutralizing Japanese air power at Wewak. This required a concerted and daring effort, as it included launching an air assault deep into Japanese-held territory. The 500-mile route to Wewak proved a tough challenge, especially for medium bombers. Despite the risks and challenges, the 5th Air Force launched this mission, which marked medium bombers' furthest incursion into Japanese-held territory to date. The success of this operation was critical in laying the way for future Allied advances and capturing major objectives in the Pacific theater. The importance of the campaign to neutralize Japanese air power at Wewak cannot be emphasized. Eliminating this menace gave the Allies a significant advantage in their ongoing struggle to free the Pacific Islands and eventually the Philippines. The 5th Air Force aircrew's daring and determination throughout this operation shaped the fate of the Pacific War. And the run-up to the Allied push on the Japanese base at La in August 1943. A critical step was the neutralization of Japanese air power concentrated at Wewak, about 300 miles west of La. To accomplish this goal, the 5th Air Force, led by General Douglas MacArthur, launched a series of synchronized bombing operations. On the night of August 16th, a large force of 50 heavy bombers conducted a daring nighttime raid on the Wewak airfields. This initial attack was intended to disrupt enemy operations and undermine their defensive capabilities. Despite severe anti-aircraft fire, the bombers continued their mission, showcasing the determination and resolve of Allied aircrews. The offensive continued the next morning, August 17th, with a coordinated attack including 32 B-25 Mitchell bombers escorted by ADP-38 Lightning fighters. This combined force assaulted Wewak's airfields with precision, seeking to inflict maximum damage on enemy facilities and aircraft. Despite overwhelming anti-aircraft fire, the bombers and their fighter escorts persisted, demonstrating extraordinary bravery and ability in the face of adversity. Despite the initial attacks, it was decided to launch another assault on the morning of August 18th. This time, the plan was to execute low-altitude strafing missions and deliver bombs directly against the Wewak airfields. The 3rd Attack Group was tasked to target Wewak and Borum fields, while the 38th Bombardment Group was tasked with bombing the Dagwa and But airfields farther west. Each aircraft involved in the assault was equipped with 12 clusters of 3-bomb parafrag bombs, which were specifically designed to provide maximum damage to enemy targets on the ground. The 405th Bomb Squadron was in charge of hitting Dagwa, while the 71st Bomb Squadron focused on But. These coordinated operations attempted to significantly impair Japanese air power and defensive capabilities in preparation for future Allied advances. The tenacity and daring demonstrated by Allied aircrews during these heavy bombing missions were critical in attaining the strategic goal of neutralizing Japanese air power at Wewak. These operations were critical in laying the groundwork for the successful Allied advance into the Philippines and eventual freedom of the Pacific Islands. On the critical day of August 18, 1943, Ralph Cheli was tasked with leading the 38th Bombardment Group (BG) in a risky operation to assault enemy defenses at Wewak. The group comprised of 30 B-25 Mitchell bombers, including standby aircraft, which were critical to the operation's success. However, unforeseen problems developed during the mission, putting Cheli and his squadron's toughness and agility to the test. As the bomber group embarked on its mission, bad weather created a serious challenge, causing the force to become separated from its P-38 Lightning escort, which was supposed to offer cover against enemy fighters. Furthermore, technical problems afflicted the squadron, resulting in the loss of 1 Mitchell aircraft from each group. As a result, Cheli's 405th Bomb Squadron and the succeeding 71st Squadrons carried out the attack, albeit with a smaller force of 28 B-25s. Cheli's assigned aircraft for this important mission was a B-25D-1 bearing the serial number 41 to 30,117. This bomber had undergone field modifications to improve its performance as a strafer. The modifications included enclosing the aircraft's plexiglass nose to mount 4 forward-firing machine guns, as well as inserting a pair of fuselage-side blister packs outfitted with guns capable of firing forward. These improvements were designed to increase the bomber's firepower and effectiveness during low-level strafing sorties against enemy objectives. Despite unfavorable weather conditions and mechanical troubles, Cheli and his squadron remained determined and courageous. Their aim was to provide a decisive blow to the enemy forces at Wewak, and they were ready to overcome any impediments in their way. Cheli's leadership and the bravery of his men will be put to the test as they started on this dangerous expedition deep into enemy territory. As Ralph Cheli and his squadron approached their target, maneuvering just 150 feet above the ground to commence their attack on the well-guarded Wewak airfield, they were met with a stiff challenge. A group of 10 to 15 Japanese Oscar fighters, hidden in the clouds above, suddenly dived on them and launched a concerted attack on the Allied bombers. The opposition aircraft lost little time in engaging the oncoming bombers, making repeated passes over the course of around 10 minutes. Their attacks were persistent, with Japanese pilots leveraging their aerial advantage to strike weak Allied aircraft below. During the pandemonium of the aerial duel, numerous Japanese aircraft focused their fire on Cheli's bomber, targeting it for attack. During the pandemonium of the aerial duel, numerous Japanese aircraft focused their fire on Cheli's bomber, targeting it for attack. The enemy fire was so intense that Cheli's aircraft quickly became engulfed in flames as the right engine caught fire. Despite being just about 2 miles from their planned target, the situation quickly deteriorated as flames spread from the broken engine, engulfing the bomber's nose and cockpit. The suddenness and ferocity of the attack put Cheli and his crew in a precarious situation, with the aircraft becoming uncontrollable owing to the developing fire. In the face of this catastrophic scenario, Cheli exhibited great composure and leadership by attempting to maintain control of the crippled aircraft despite the mayhem of battle. However, as the flames rapidly intensified and threatened the crew's safety, immediate action was required to avoid tragedy and secure the crew members' lives aboard the doomed aircraft. Despite the terrible situation and the impending threat to his own life, Major Ralph Cheli had to make a critical decision when his aircraft caught fire. With the fire growing swiftly and his crew's life at stake, Cheli had the choice of bailing out and parachute to safety. His aircraft's speed would have allowed him to achieve enough altitude for a safe parachute descent. However, such an action would have shattered the formation, exposing his squadron to enemy attacks and potentially jeopardizing the mission's success. Despite the personal danger he faced, Cheli made a brave and noble decision. Recognizing the necessity of preserving the formation's integrity and assuring the mission's success, he chose to continue leading the attack. With unflinching determination, he led his squadron in a devastating bombing and strafing attack on the enemy target. Maintaining his place at the front of the formation, Cheli directed his wingmen to assume the lead as they approached Borum airstrip. However, as the severity of the flames consuming his aircraft increased, it became obvious that a crash landing was unavoidable. Cheli maneuvered his crippled aircraft toward the water with extraordinary poise and leadership, hoping to reduce the risk to bystanders while increasing his crew's chances of survival. In a final act of bravery and sacrifice, Cheli's plane crashed in the water around 2 kilometers from Borum airstrip. Regardless of the unavoidable consequence, his decision to stay at the helm and lead his squadron in a devastating strike on the enemy target proved his tremendous bravery, devotion, and unflinching dedication to duty. Following the crash of his aircraft, initial reports indicated that Major Ralph Cheli died in the terrible tragedy. However, post-war information provided light on Cheli's true fate, revealing that he survived the crash but was later arrested by Japanese forces. Tragically, he was executed in March 1944 while being imprisoned as a prisoner of war on the South Pacific island of Rabaul. Despite the harsh conditions of his confinement, Cheli's bravery and sacrifice were not overlooked. He received the Medal of Honor posthumously for his exceptional actions and unflinching dedication to service. Major Cheli's bones, along with those of others similarly killed prisoners of war, are currently buried at Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery in St. Louis, Missouri. This is a sad memorial to the brave servicemen who sacrificed the ultimate sacrifice for their nation. Major Ralph Cheli is survived by his wife Geraldine Cheli, née Riley, and their young son, Ralph Jr. His family suffered the deep loss of a loving husband and father while the country mourned the death of a brave hero. Major Cheli's memory has been honored with numerous tributes in commemoration of his courage and sacrifice. Major Cheli's memory has been honored with numerous tributes in commemoration of his courage and sacrifice. The Arnold Air Society branch at his alma school, Lehigh University, was dedicated in his honor as a permanent homage to his legacy and achievements to national defense. Furthermore, from 1947 to 1961, the U.S. Air Force ran the Cheli Air Force Station near Maywood, California. This station honored Major Cheli's service and sacrifice, guaranteeing that his memory would live on for future generations. Medal of Honor Citation. Rank and Organization, Major U.S. Army Air Corps. Location and date, near Wewak, New Guinea, August 18, 1943. Entered service in Brooklyn, New York. Birthplace, San Francisco, California. General Orders No. 72, October 28, 1943. Citation. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity above and beyond the call of duty during combat with the enemy. While Major Cheli was leading his squadron in a dive to attack the heavily fortified Dagwa airdrome, intercepting enemy aircraft focused their fire on his plane, forcing it to burst into flames while still 2 miles away from the target. His speed would have allowed him to acquire enough altitude to parachute to safety, but this would have left his formation fragmented and vulnerable to the enemy. Although a crash was unavoidable, he bravely chose to continue leading the attack in his burning plane. From low altitude, the squadron launched a devastating bombing and strafing attack on the target. After the mission was finished, Major Cheli commanded his wingmen to lead the formation, which crashed into the water. Major Ralph Cheli is recognized for his exceptional courage and sacrifice during a critical operation near Wewak, New Guinea. Despite the intense enemy fire that forced his aircraft to catch fire, Cheli's spirit and determination never faltered. Recognizing that jumping out would risk the mission's success and endanger his squadron, he elected to stay at the helm and direct the attack on the enemy target, despite the certainty of a crash. Cheli led his squadron in a deadly bombing and strafing attack on the well-held Dagwa airfield. With his aircraft on fire, he demonstrated outstanding leadership and bravery, completing the task before telling his wingmen to take charge and lead the formation. Cheli's aircraft eventually fell into the sea, but his heroics rescued his squadron and allowed them to accomplish their mission against the enemy. Major Ralph Cheli was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor, the United States' highest military honor, for his remarkable heroism and intrepidity. His noble sacrifice and unrelenting dedication to duty set an enduring example of courage and valor for future generations. So friends, before you go, please let us know that we have made this video on the history with great effort. Tell us how you liked it in the comments below and connect with us by subscribing to our channel and pressing the bell button. Do it! If you want to know about any history, you can definitely give us ideas in the comments below. Next time we will make a video according to you.